Was this path just a random sequence of events that I had to follow? Or was there ever another way?
You ever just lie awake at night thinking about every mistake you've ever made and how it could have altered the course of your life? Well, The Alter's gorgeously atmospheric sci-fi narrative is aimed right at that thought. It's a wonderful blend of different game systems and genres set against a bleak alien world, and is top-shelf indie gaming that isn't afraid to dive into complex questions of morality and ethics. I have to imagine someone at 11-bit Studios off the cuff said something like, well, if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. And then one of the genius Polish developers at 11-bit said something along the lines of, oh my god, I have a great idea. Because The Alters may set out on a fairly straightforward path, setting our intrepid space builder out on a foreign planet, crewless to seek rescue at a far-off rendezvous point, but it then quickly veers off into philosophic and ethical gray areas by forcing poor Jan Dolsky to create clones of himself with altered minds. And this is where the game's true core is exposed. Unlike other stories dealing with cloning or alternate universes, The Alters has opted for one of the most emotionally distressing choices available. You see, the thing is that these clones are real living flesh, with falsified lives that they fully remember, which leads to some deeply interesting character interactions. While the overall gameplay of The Alters is a basic resource management based building survival game, its strength is in the brilliant and bold way the interpersonal storytelling unfolds. Jan has some truly bleak and oftentimes impossible choices to make, resulting in a tale that carries a lot of weight on its shoulders, which 11-bit handles with care while leaving room for breaks of levity. I don't think since Mass Effect, a game's choices have left me so incredibly impacted. Balancing the needs of Jan's clones with extracting enough resources for survival makes for a tense and smartly delivered drip of stress. The Jan gang's emotional journey is one that made me ask what it even means to be real, and question every choice I've ever made in my life. 11-bit's deft handling of heady themes like identity, destiny, and self-preservation framed The Alter's character study in a great way, and it's made all the more impactful by the sense of dread brought on by the looming threat of a sun-scorched death. Regardless of your feelings towards this genre, I think you'll find an undeniable satisfaction in the loop of The Alters, bolstered by a cerebral, enthralling story that has been cleverly executed. The Alter starts off like any good sci-fi survival game, with a crash landing.
I need to figure out what happened.
Moments after awakening in a crashed cryopod, Jan Dolsky scrambles onto the surface of a foreign planet in search of his crew. Unfortunately for him and you, the entire crew has mysteriously died on entry, leaving Jan isolated and setting an incredibly dark tone from the jump. The unnamed planet on which he finds himself is unsettlingly alien, formed of oddly textured spiked rocks, washed out with gray landscapes and dark skies. And just outside your base lies a restless sea of oily water that crashes against the grayscale shore. That base is a cutting silhouette on this world's horizon, a colossal wheel-shaped mobile base which acts as your interim home. It doesn't take long exploring the game's opening area to discover the mysterious and apparently ultra-rare mineral Rubidium, as its very existence distorts the area around it. This discovery is the catalyst for the unique situation Jan finds himself in. Tension is high from the moment you set out, and you can practically taste the fear and stress in the environment. The Alter sells this urgency with a frantic race against time to find enough resources to get the base moving. Each day begins with a morbid reminder that the sun is planning to absolutely decimate you on its approach in just a matter of days. So, Jan will need to venture back onto the hostile surface to gather resources. You'll find resources fairly easy to spot as blue smoke rises from the ground indicating organic material, as well as the orange-red glow of the metal veins. These materials will feed, fuel, and build upon your base, so you'll need to keep a close eye on how much is mined versus how much is spent. You'll scan the ground, find the vein, and plant your mining rig, then simply network it back with a series of lines, and voila! You are now in the mining business. The gameplay loop is simple but effective, allowing you to easily acquire resources that you need. There's also a trick here, because by finding the resources yourself, you feel like you earn everything that comes to your keep. However, the trick is to keep an eye on everything all at once, not just the resources. This includes radiation levels, watching the clock to make sure you don't overwork poor Jan, and most importantly, carefully navigating your surroundings as deadly anomalies dot the planet's winding paths. Rupidium isn't just some fancy glowing rock. Its applications are nearly universal, and the way it alters quantum states can allow super fast food production, regrow limbs, and has endless other uses. So naturally, the goal of Project Dolly, Jan's ill-fated mining mission, was to research and mine this new wonder metal. Desperate to survive and under the advisement of Lucas, an Allied Corps member, Jan is forced to create the aforementioned alters, a genetically identical clone whose mind has been altered to remember a branched life path now thrust into a dire situation by Jan's actions and the power of this enigmatic new element. As you take on the role of captain for this ever-expanding crew of Jans, you'll find yourself in need of some specialized skills. Luckily, the identifying namesake for each character, Jan Scientist, Jan Botanist, etc., is also their job title. In many ways, this is also the start of the Alter's ingenious approach to the theme of identity, because in some ways, by playing God, Jan has brought these clones into life simply for their profession, almost as though they are tools, and this forces them to wrestle with their purpose in life beyond this, should they get to see the end of this journey. You'll quickly realize that these are no mere 2D copies of the original. As real or not, the lives they remembered have differed quite a bit from Jan, ranging from a Jan who stood up to his abusive father, all the way to one that worked out things with his girlfriend. They have differing tastes in everything from music to food, and even prefer different leisure activities. Genetically, they are all the same band, but on a fundamental basis of what makes a person different, they could not be less alike. While the moment-to-moment gameplay is genre meshing, and in my opinion, maybe the only time I've actually enjoyed base building, the real star of the show is the Jans themselves. It was a Herculean task to write these characters and keep them grounded in their respective viewpoints, but 11-bit Studios has not just written a character with intellectual depth, but a dozen variations of that character who all have incredible levels of nuance. Sure, the Jan alters serve a function in the gameplay, allowing you to delegate tasks to the appropriate clone, but they are also well-defined individuals whose personalities can be traced along the timeline branch seen in the game's mind files. Now, it's a little silly, but the most obvious way that this presents is through the other Jan sporting differing haircuts, facial hair, and even speech patterns. This puts Jan Prime in a fascinating balancing act, where he must maintain progress on escaping by keeping things moving at a solid click in order to outrun the solar threat, while also befriending, placating, and engaging with his variant brothers to prolong cooperation and peace. The Alters may wear the garb of an overwhelming resource management game, but at its heart, it is an unbelievably intricate social sim. Like I said earlier, I haven't felt the impact of my choices hit me so hard since Mass Effect. Every action at every feasible level has an impact. Whether it's what quality food you make or how often you plan a movie night, it's gonna have an effect on your crew members. Go above and beyond and you'll find them to be the best of buddies, delivering their best work. Slight one of them though and you'll find them slacking off, working less hours. They'll be irritable and less cooperative overall. To make amends, you can sometimes bring gifts to them found from your lost luggage, delivered, I have to assume, by Frontier Airlines, to the various corners of the map. Don't feel like walking all that way for a t-shirt or rubber duck? There is a surprisingly fun beer pong game and a movie watching area featuring videos from one of my favorite comedy duos, Chris and Jack, the latter of which shocked me when I first sat down to watch a movie with the crew, because I had only just recently started rewatching some of my favorites like right before I received my review code. It kind of felt like I was being watched. Anyway, any of these activities will leave the Alters feeling reinvigorated and joyous, to a certain point, because there are multiple hurdles on the path to salvation for our lost crew. A gravity well, a river of lava, and some much more esoteric obstacles as well. Some of these will come with vastly important decisions, and the heavier the burden, the more traumatic the result. In some of the best written scenarios, you're given choices that actively fly in the face of some of your team's core values. Values that, once violated, break down the trust between you. Long-lasting ramifications linger after you make a big choice, and the results are oftentimes heart-wrenching. Split between doing what you feel is right or best, and doing what your team values as right. It's an unexpectedly devastating place to end up. On top of that, the little faults can build larger divides between you and a clone. Your choices as a captain and as a friend to these genetic brothers can oftentimes have rippling effects on the overall experience. As an example, in order to help Jan Technician have a place of his own, I used hologram technology to recreate a special place he and his mom used to frequent. I thought that since this was a special moment that my Jan missed out on in my timeline, he would enjoy regaling me with some more conversations about her. Instead, Jan Technician became frustrated and accused me of selfishly trying to use him to make up for lost time. Now, I am not Jan Dulski, but this felt like a personal attack, and worst of all, it felt like a cuttingly true one. Jan is living what I assume is everyone's worst nightmare, but is my personal worst nightmare, because even though none of them lived easy fake lives, they all lived lives that he could have had. Looking your regrets in the face has to be one of the hardest things possible for a person. With the threat of imminent death approaching, my crew began to question if they were mere means to an end. Who are they outside of this mission? If their memories are fake, do they even matter? Are we all just puppets in some corporate plot? These were cutting questions that haunted my every action. I feared for everything I did, but the strong sense of identity and community management never ate away at the satisfying, progression-driven gameplay. Which is good, because one of the things I love about this game, second only to its writing, is that there is truly no busy work. You'll spend most of your 20 hours given to you in each game day, scouring the area for resources and maintaining a steady influx of them, as well as exploring in third-person adventure style, looking for new trails forward and new mysteries to unravel. You'll find no traditional combat here, but that doesn't mean there's not threats, as those floating blobs of quantum anomalous energy are your only real threat. Don't let the amorphous appearance fool you. These ghostly bubbles will try to eat you with their radioactive mass, causing real damage to you as they attempt to rip Jan from this universe. This is where the equipable gear comes into play. You will need suit batteries to power your defenses, allow you to repel up rock faces, and to provide the sick black light of death that dissolves those bubbly bastards into balls of basic material. Jan Scientist is an essential part of your team, helping you to not only better expand your base, but to provide you with these instruments of survival. The other half of your time will be spent reorganizing and growing your Hot Wheels style base to include things like additional storage, workbenches, social rooms, and even a P converter. I enjoy this aspect of a game a lot, especially with the ant farm perspective offering a fun twist on the gameplay, but holy shit did I cause myself a lot of problems by consistently reshuffling the pods. I was constantly wondering where I had just moved my captain quarters or the communication hub to. But overall, these two gameplay systems play into each other perfectly. The world in which Jan finds himself is rendered beautifully. Its complex, otherworldly geography makes for a perfect blend of familiar and science fiction. Jan himself has a solid design, and each iteration of him has a distinct and memorable look. There are some really breathtaking moments in this game, with massive time-bending walls of gravity towering in a canyon, or watching the inaugural journey of our wheelbase as it moves towards a volcanic path with a river of lava gutting the area. My favorite effect has to be the titular process of making the altars. A kaleidoscope of images flash before you as your DNA is used to craft a branching mind in the form of a new body, ending with a glimpse of who that person might end up being. Then they literally remove their identity as Jan Dulski and give them the name of their profession. The visuals are incredible throughout the game, but the eerie synth-laden soundtrack is what sells the sci-fi atmosphere. Creeping synth strings and pulsating, almost hammering beats drive home just how alien this mission is. The Altars is not just a genre-defining moment for 11-bit studios. It's possibly the most well-executed survival base builder I've ever played. I can't tell you all the details for fear of spoiling some of the best bits, but The Altars is an experience you're going to want to have. An unexpected gem of polished world design, slick gameplay loops, and believable character writing that exemplifies what makes 11-bit studios such a unique voice in the indie scene. Unabashedly smart, thought-provoking, and brilliant to a fault, The Altars is a must-play for any sci-fi fan. The Altars is easily a 9 out of 10 for me, and it's going to remain on my mind for a long, long time. For Hardwired, I'm Andrew Hamilton.
On the path I